We're only 4 months away from the US presidential election, and the response to coronavirus is expected to dominate the debate. I spoke with John Hinderaker, president of Centre of the American Experiment, about what's going on in the US. John, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Rita. Glad to be with you.
Fantastic. Now, it's been a tumultuous few months with a global pandemic raging that has seen the US economy go from incredible highs to devastating lows. President Trump's fortunes have mirrored that. He is absolutely struggling in the polls. Can he recover?
Well, sure he can, Rita. For one thing, the polls don't mean much this early. You know, back in 1988, Michael Dukakis was leading President Bush by 17 points in July, and Bush wound up winning in a landslide. I'm not too worried about the polls. The problem that Joe Biden has is he's got to try to convince voters that somehow he's going to do a better job of reviving the economy than Trump can do. And I think that's a very hard sell.
Well, Biden seems to have hidden away in his basement and just occasionally doing a softball interview, and yet it doesn't seem to have hurt him at all, even when he's incoherent and it's quite difficult to understand what point he's trying to make. That doesn't seem to have shaken people's trust in his ability to lead the country.
Rita, I'm not sure anyone has much trust in Joe Biden's ability. The truth, Rita, is that he is senile. He was never a very able guy, and now he is obviously suffering from dementia. And as you say, the Democrats have just been stashing him in his basement, keeping him under wraps. But they can't do that all the way till November. You know, he's got to come out of hiding. He's agreed apparently to participate in 3 debates with Trump, which is hard to imagine. Most people, Rita, don't follow politics that closely. And I would say that most Americans don't yet understand that Joe Biden is simply senile. And I think that as they say,
you're saying flat out he's senile, he's suffering from dementia. I know there's been episodes where he's just said bizarre things over quite a long period of time. It's not something that's just happened in recent weeks. And he's had trouble putting sentences together in any sort of fashion that people can understand. But isn't it too far to diagnose him with a condition? Could it just be old age and he gets tired and sometimes misspeaks?
Well, I'm not a doctor, Rita. I wouldn't try to diagnose, but he can't, he'll do these little interviews from his basement. It'll try to read his notes and he can't do it. Yeah, he struggles to put sentences together. Call it what you will. I think it's pretty obvious that the man is in no condition to try to serve in the demanding post of President of the United States. And I think that is a deep, deep problem for the Democrats. They can't keep him under wraps forever.
No, we'll play a little clip right now of one of these interviews you just mentioned.
Lonnie knows I believe this every fiber of my being. We're posed. What I propose is it can be done. I think we're in a position to really make it happen. And my team and your team are already working closely together to light up the path forward here. Critical laws like the PRO Act to strengthen collective bargaining. On politics like prevailing and look, I guess I'm taking too much time, but
watching that, John, it's hard to imagine how Joe Biden is going to cope with debates. Is he going to go ahead with them? Because I've already seen pieces in the Washington Post and elsewhere imploring the Democrats not to turn up to the debate, saying it's not safe to hold the debates and it plays into Trump's hands. Is there a chance of these debates, which are part and parcel of the election process, will not take place in 2020?
Rita, I was surprised when the Biden campaign agreed to participate in 3 debates. I thought they would try to get away with only doing 1 and just hope for the best in 1 2-hour debate. They're not having a convention. They're just doing as little as possible between now and November to expose their candidate to the people. But Rita, I don't think it's viable for them to say, no, we're not going to show up for a debate. I think it would be blindingly obvious that they're afraid to do that because of Biden's conditions. So I think they're in a very tough position.
Now, the coronavirus crisis in the US has been all along very much a state-by-state proposition. Some states like New York, New Jersey have done disastrously with death rates more than 4 times the US average, while others have done much better, even done well compared to some of the better performing European nations. How does Trump get the US back to work, though, without seeing infection rates jump? Or is it, John, out of his hands? It really is up to the governors to determine how each state handles reopening the economy.
It really is not a federal function, Rita. A lot of people don't understand this, but our federal government does not have any police powers. The police powers are with the states. And so if you have something like an epidemic, as we're dealing with now, that really is a matter of state law and state jurisdiction. And as you say, states have taken different approaches and some have done a lot better than others. I think the only thing that the federal government can do, the Trump administration could do, as they have been, is to convey information and to make recommendations. And Trump has been on the side of reopening the economy. As you say, Rita, as we come out of hiding, as we go back to work, as we go out to eat and so forth, as we get haircuts again, I think it is inevitable that infection rates will rise. I think if we all hunker down in our houses, sure, you can slow the spread of the virus, but only temporarily. And it's not clear what good that really does, because eventually you got to come out. You got to have to come out again. You can't just close down the country indefinitely. And I think inevitably, when you resume activity, sure enough, the virus will spread more rapidly. I think that is inevitable. And my own opinion is that we have got to get our country back to work. And to a considerable extent, we've been doing that. I think we have to continue to do it and not be deterred by the fact that, yes, there will inevitably be some additional infections.